morning and welcome to the program. I'm Jeffrey Ozama, and of course it's a weekend edition, and we're glad we're here and you're here with us. Bukola.
Indeed, Jeffrey. Every day is a gift, but Friday is a gift. Good morning. Welcome to your perfect morning starter right here on Channels Television. I am Bukola Koka.
Other weekdays matter too, not just Friday. But we're all bright and early as always. Good morning. I'm Kayode Okikelu, and you're welcome to the show.
So February is over, guys, right?
Officially.
By the end of today?
Yeah.
Whew. So the year is literally over.
Somebody's super excited this morning. I wonder what.
That February is over?
Well, and maybe a lot of other things as well in the mix.
It's a funny story, right? And this is, I think, a joke we've had. It feels like I've run through the year already. For a lot of people, it feels like the work they've done January, February is enough for the whole year. So they're just expecting Happy New Year 2026.
That explains it.
No, I'm saying for a lot of people, this year particularly has been maybe hectic. Remember, January had 100 days. So February had maybe But how's your year going so far? And what are you tracking this morning, guys, as always?
What else is there to track than to just...
Aside the big story.
That's the big story. It's the regular stuff. It's just the basic regular stuff. I'm still on the issue of some of the kinds of food we eat here, you know. Perhaps because one is getting older, you're a bit more conscious of the kind of things you ingest and all of that. So whatever personally you have to do to protect yourself, that's the first layer. Then we can talk about what the government can do for you. But I think we should also speak to the people that supply this product to also have a bit of conscience and fear God a bit. You understand? You can't be killing people trying to make money, and then in the process you're killing people. So whether you're selling fruits, banana, plantain, and all the things that we thought was quite ripe, but when we opened it, we found out that you did something that we can't really explain. I think you should just have a bit of conscience and the fear of God to help all of us. Guys, that's what I'm tracking.
Jeffrey, age is of the mind. You're not getting older unless you think that you're older.
Keep deceiving yourself. Yeah? All right.
No, it's both ways.
Okay.
Naturally, your days are counted. But again, it's been said that you can have that mentality that I'm going to stay forever young. So in spite of the fact that you're 80, you still act on, in fact, your body and soul feels like you're 60 or 50. So it's a balance.
That's our possibility.
Well, there are exceptions. It's not self-deceit, Jeffrey. There are exceptions to the rule. So you can feel old and get old. But you can get old without necessarily feel old. So that's just my admonition to my beloved Jeffrey this morning. So you think the way he talks sometimes that he's about 50 years old, but he's not there yet. He's a far cry from it. But that's not, I'm not tracking Jeffrey's age.
How did you get here this morning?
I'm not tracking.
The point I realized about changes in life is there are two things that make you change drastically. First is knowledge. That's why doctors are terrible patients, because they know too much. They have a small feeling in their hand. They are thinking about 1 million things that could be responsible. The other thing is when life happens to you, it kind of make you realign a few things. So, for instance, you're telling young people, oh, don't be excessive in chocolate. Stop smoking Indian hemp. Stop drinking. Stop all the excesses. I said, this is my time. Until you stop by the dialysis unit of the hospital. And then reality hit you, boom. And then one day I went to the hospital and I saw the amount for oxygen that I'm breathing, you and I are breathing. And I say, if somebody has to survive on this, then even if you have money, it's going to take a chunk. Yeah. So perhaps, you know, that's just my take, you know.
Well,
I enjoy your young age. I'm young. I'm not saying I'm old.
Your admonition is taking this morning, particularly about how we should watch what we should eat. And that cuts across all, you know, age stratas. It doesn't necessarily have to do with those who are over 40 or those who are over 50. But, of course, what are we tracking this morning is going to form part of the big story. But I cannot resist, you know, the temptation to speak to some, you know, maybe just dance around the edges of what's happening at the Lagos State Assembly this morning. So how many speakers do we really have at the Lagos State House of Assembly? Is it 2 or is it 1? Of course, we have heard thankfully so, and not because anybody's taking sides, that the security detail of the Speaker, Miranda, has been restored. There were concerns earlier on that she had been left vulnerable without her security detail. Amid reports that she had resigned, but there was no official communication to that effect. We saw the resumption of the Speaker, the impeached Speaker, the ousted Speaker, yesterday. But he came on and spoke and said Speaker Miranda had resigned. So what is really happening? Do we have two speakers in one state assembly? Is the Nigerian version of Game of Thrones being rewritten for the Lagos State Assembly? Of course, we're going to delve into the issues later on today and try to ask all of those important questions, particularly as they have to do with the legislative business of the Lagos State Assembly. But then again, this is just a word of counsel to the ousted Speaker's aides. Please conduct his interview sessions better next time. The manner in which his interviews were conducted yesterday were unbecoming of, a statesman at that level. So it was not appropriate at all for television. The Speaker, the ousted Speaker, it was not in his practice to speak to the press. So we understand that in the light of the circumstances, perhaps he's trying to reassert himself or reassert his position. But we'll see how that plays out in the coming days. Fewer days rather than long term. And
away from that, we get to PC Fix. It's a segment on the program where we highlight, what exactly is wrong or what could be wrong with your device, and we'll help you fix it on the program today. So smartphone 101, all of you who have mobile phone that could buy Kakemaro. Let's see how that plays out for you. Kakemaro is now 3.3 million. I was in shook. I knew when it was 300,000. Guys, what do we have next?
You were in shook.
Yeah, I was in shook.
That amount for Kakemaro.
Yeah,
definitely elicits shock.
I saw one being advertised by one of the businessmen in Nigeria and all that.
What are the features? Air conditioning?
Is it
solar power?
Installed television?
I don't know, about 2 to 3 million naira. I'm serious. I saw it.
I think the last I checked was inching over 1 million towards 2, but 3.
Right. So if you're a seller of the camera, please tell us your amount.
So from the health of Lagos governance and politics to the health of your mobile devices to your family and relationship health. On the show this morning, we'll be joined by a family strategist and consultant who will share insights on maintaining a healthy and lasting relationship that's despite the challenges, because we know that companionship is an essential aspect of our lives as humans.
Besides that, what fuels the drive behind content creation in Nigeria? Is it passion or money? We're speaking with one of your favorites on social media. His name is Kingi, as we seek answers to the numerous questions, that inform the content that he creates. And I'm sure you're going to enjoy this conversation, so don't miss it.
Yeah, the next one we're going to feature is going to interest the Commissioner for Environment in Lagos, Wahab. Who doesn't like
Tokunbo Wahab?
Tokunbo Wahab. He cracks down on anything that will cause noise pollution. But this one, they're teaching us how to do silent parties, What is it all about? I know some of you have been to those very crowded yet silent parties. So the people at the Vanguard will be here to walk us through that today.
And since today's Friday, we thought, how about we give you a feel of, DJing. So later on this show, to help us segue into Friday, I had to borrow that term. We'll be having DJ Delight joining us to entertain us on the show. So Bukola, what is today's show? What package?
A bumper package, Kadi.
There you go.
A great bouquet just for you. And of course, we're going to be boogieing. Let me borrow that one as well.
Segwaying.
An old term. Boogieing is different from segwaying.
Jeffrey, I'm just adding to
cut me some slack this morning.
Some words found on this show.
Yeah,
or the old words like segway.
Segway.
like boogie.
Lego.
Like bumper.
In the days when we trained at the FRC and all those kind of,
heavy
words.
Kind of words.
Great English.
Please just ignore my brothers this morning. You can
we're all
add your own list of words to the words.
Legacy media.
If you join the conversation at CTV Morning Brief on X and of course on our WhatsApp handle, please send in your own words and all the other details that you would like to share with us. Where your community engagement show will amplify your voice. Yes, that's our WhatsApp handle, our hand of fellowship extended just to you this morning and always. And of course, our email address is up and running as well. You can send your questions, send your mails, your own unique story. You're also a citizen journalist, so you're welcome. As the fourth anchor on the show, we'll take a break. When we return, we'll begin. Oh, we're segueing.
We're moving to the next segment. We'll look at the dailies.
The dailies, right?
I forgot the fact that the PMQ yesterday was quite interesting. Was it yesterday or 2 days ago? PMQ is always on Wednesday. That's Prime Minister's questions at the House of Commons. And our dear sister Kemi Badenoch got a bit of a bite that I've been warning her about. You know, well, Keir Starmer came against that, saying, you want to make yourself the savior of the Western civilization. Well, people have said soon you'll be reminded you're British, but you're not white. We hope it doesn't get there.
Well, that's if it's not there already. We stared her right in the face yesterday, and it's not as if we're glorifying in her defeat. But you know, it just may get harder than that, particularly when the elections come.
All right, so let's get to the dailies.
Let's look
what's going on in the UK to what's going on in Nigeria, and of course, leading that headline, this Nigeria is where we'll start from today. Sanwo-Olu denied access to Tinubu as Lagos Assembly splits. Makes two unsuccessful attempts to meet with President Bola Tinubu in the villa. Obasa and back resumed duties. Pro-Miranda lawmakers will stand by Madam Speaker. You see this Fourth Republic and this particular 2023 set of leadership is very interesting. So Lagos has joined the pack we never thought they would join. You know, we have Rivers, two houses of assembly. Lagos now has two speakers or people disputing themselves who is the speaker. We have two emirs. In fact, before Obasanjo's tenure ended, we had two deputy governors. Kaide, what else can we have in twos? But it's quite interesting.
Well, thankfully, we have three anchors on the show.
So that's more than two, right?
It's quite interesting, the power game in Lagos. So you see all of that. So the headline is kind of saying what they know, that the governor of the state hasn't been able to see the president. The president has a lot on his plate to deal with as a country. But let's see how this plays out. It's developing. It was yesterday we heard that Mudashiru Obasa headed into the House of Assembly. He said he didn't invade. He said he didn't, what's that word he said?
He didn't force himself.
Yeah, he didn't force himself.
He had quite some reservation about
and he did interviews yesterday saying Obasa is back. So he even alluded to the fact that Miranda had actually resigned, but we don't have an official communication to that. So they met at the GSI in Marina and all of that. But we're going to have that conversation today on the program. It's the biggest headline, perhaps, in most of all of this. So the other one on the front page of this Nigeria, Akpabio and Natasha's fight enters round 2. Northern youth accuse Kogi lawmaker of corruption. Petition Senate Ethics Committee. Akpoti Oduaha vows to X-ray Senate leadership. Okay, we're here for the game. As I always say, as long as they're not killing themselves, let showdown begin.
Well, from there, let's head straight to the Guardian newspaper this morning. And, you know, typical of the Guardian, the picture deployed to telling the story is, you know, quite vivid. You see there a cartoon image of the DG of NAFDAC, Professor Mojisola Adeyeye, pushing a truck carrying fake drugs. It speaks to, you know, the challenge that she's up against. You can see how towering the truck of fake drugs is. That's just how towering or, you know, a tall order it is, you know, to continue to combat the menace of fake drugs in the country. And the headline is aptly captioned, War Against Fake Drugs, How Systemic Inefficiency, Complicity Aid Multi-Trillion Naira Illicit Trade. Now imagine if the challenge is worth trillions, and you know, compared with how the commission is the agency rather is underfunded, and you have, you know, inadequate personnel, you know, deployed across the country to continue to combat fake drugs. So, of course, you find the story on the inside pages of the Guardian newspaper this morning. But at the top of the big story, you also find Obasanjo's 7 ex-leaders seek debt relief for African countries. That story is on page 7. And there's also Air Force investigates as officer kills 1, injures 2 in Kaduna. That story is also on page 3. Not very great stories to chew on, but of course, to get the insight. That's it for The Guardian.
I couldn't help but see that story about mass wedding. KB paying 54 million naira as bride price for 300 couples. And who says government is not working right? But over to Blueprint newspaper now. Blueprint leads with, of course, the Lagos Assembly crisis. And just as Jeffrey said, like Rivers, Obasa leads 4 lawmakers at plenary, insists I remain speaker. But, you know, it's quite different because the leader of the 4 lawmakers held a meeting in the government house. That's in Rivers State. Right? This one held in the State Assembly in Lagos. Well, you know what, you can actually get confused when you're trying to compare these things, and you just wonder what exactly is going on. But explainers say Miranda's security details withdrawn and restored. 36 lawmakers vow to stand on their mandate, fault party leaders. And that was a song that rang in the air yesterday, the On Your Mandate song, particularly from those who were in support of Mr. Obasa, just outside the gate. And they were singing On Your Mandate. So I was thinking, whose mandate now are they standing on? Is it... Because I thought that song was for the president.
It was for the president, right?
So are they singing it?
No, there's no crime in remixing. Remixing is very much a part of music culture globally. So maybe it's been remixed, even though for one side of Lagos, one part of Lagos, but for another individual.
It's interesting. So he has 4 on his side. I think there are 39 APC lawmakers and 1 Labour Party. I don't know where the Labour Party guy is. Is it he or she? I don't know. So I think Rivers has 3 lawmakers because he is now, what's his name? He's now the chief of staff
to the governor.
Isn't that interesting? This democracy. I love democracy.
As you say, Jeffrey, let the drama continue as long as there are no killings.
And in this case, it looks like there is now no right or wrong. It's just because you could see the police and security detail with Mr. Obasa, right? And the same security detail was restored.
Sometimes I actually pity 2 sets of people when politicians fight, to be very fair. I pity the police sometimes because you're bringing papers here. This one is bringing papers. Who will the police really obey?
Yeah.
And then they are turning between the seats, and then we go against the police. Oh, police is taking sides. 2 people may have a valid position or quote-unquote valid positions. The court will sit on their own. You carry your problem and come and present before the court. The court interprets it, will start screaming. If politicians can just put their acts together, and we must say, every democracy that has been truncated was caused by politicians. From 66 to 83, except the military one that we had, the funny one that happened in the Third Republic. Let's not destroy this democracy. We've done well so far. Okay, let's take it easy, guys.
I think it's a no-brainer, really. Just to mention the story about 4 trillion naira debt owed Genco's discos crippling our power sector. That's according to the ministers. Again, 4 trillion naira. Those are the words of the Minister of Power, Adebayo Adelabu, saying that Nigerian government is owing electricity generation companies, Gencos and discos, over 4 trillion naira.
From the subsidy
Jeffrey,
that we
there
didn't
goes
pay.
your band-aid.
Yeah, so all the money they are collecting from me, every day this Ministry of Power is coming with complaints. There's every day.
But to be fair, he's beaming the spotlight on the government.
So
saying
let's
be
clear, the 4 trillion, I have not read that story.
Yeah, the details are on the inside pages of the book.
Okay, I have not read it. Perhaps he's talking about subsidies they've not paid to maybe the generating company and all of that. If that's the case, I can understand. But maybe when I read the detail, I'll be able to find out. But that ministry, they complain too much.
Well, I hope the detail...
There's a lot of complaint.
It's not new information, you know. It had been published earlier on that the National Assembly is owing, agencies of government are owing.
Pay. The presidency has paid now. The presidency actually paid, yeah.
So it's not new information, but I also hope that this disclosure by the Minister of Power also contains timeline for the payment of debt to the discos such that they can function more effectively and stop giving excuses of not being able to deliver because of some issues of, lack of funding and all of that. So it's not necessarily new information. We know that government agencies are owing distribution companies.
Please let them pay. Whoever is owing the discos, pay. If citizens can pay, pay. And then we can understand. So that the Ministry of Power, led by Adelabu, the man can stop lamenting and let him focus on his work of providing power for all of us. We have a target. The president has promised at the Chatham House that he will unbundle the sector. He's done that to a large extent. He says he's going to fix it. Let's see how he's fixing it. Okay.
Well, Kadi, you're missing something else on the front page of Blueprint. Look at the top. New petrol price reduction. There seems to be a graph there, and you can see the petrol stations and the price that they're selling in Lagos. There's 860 naira per liter.
It hasn't reflected
MRS.
yet, so.
Southwest 870 naira. North 890 naira. South and Southeast 890 naira per liter. And then you see just a bit of addition for the other filling stations at the bottom of the graph there.
They are still selling the old stock, by the way.
news.
We haven't seen this reflected. I'm sure the newspapers have done their work, but I haven't seen any fuel station where there's anything less than 900 naira. So perhaps they're still selling the old stock. Maybe the new stock is what they're talking about, but I haven't seen it. But if you've seen it, it's going to be nice.
Me neither, but I'm looking forward to buying at this price.
Bukola is always looking for fuel, Kayode. Anyway, let's...
Bukola is our special petrol reporter on the morning brief.
What do we have next, Kayode?
For these trends.
We'll send you on a tour to NNPCL filling station and refinery.
I think we should just head over to what's trending. And, the conversation you raised earlier on about Keir Starmer saying that... to Kemi Badenoch now, that I think she has appointed herself savior of the Western civilization. It's a desperate search for relevance. Below the belt, above the belt, it was aimed directly at her. It was a major one. And I saw a lot of Nigerians rejoicing, right? I really don't get it. But let's take a look at reactions to that statement. Politics is getting heated in the UK, so some of these things should be properly contextualized. But Jen's Law has this to say about that hit. It says, desperate search for relevance, in quote. Now that's a career destructive statement to someone who constantly destroys her people's opportunities to garner relevance to her. In this user's words, masters. So you can see how a lot of people view the statement, or that statement from Starmer towards Kemi Badenoch. So that's from Jen's Law. This morning.
All right, Tom Boy says, at this point, the biggest threat to the Conservative Party is themselves. Starmer just capitalizing on the chaos.
Well, I like this one from Emmanuel Okoegwale, who says, honestly, I like her to evolve there, but throwing your country of origin under the bus every time without provocation is something else. No respect for the country at all.
And when I talked about context, this next user tries to put that, because when you watch proceedings at the House, particularly in the UK, sometimes you're like, is this a marketplace? What is going on here?
Like they are joking or
something?
The parliament, you mean?
You just, back and forth. So this user says they trash talk each other frequently in that room. I'm sure she's not taking that comment seriously. That's what the user says. If you've not watched it, you should watch it one of these days. Just watch the proceedings. You see how the back and forth. You take a seat, and the next person stands, blasts you, and takes a seat, and the next person, and they jar or boo.
But I kind of, sorry, Bukola, I kind of like it, which is why some of us may partially be supporting returning to parliamentary system, where our president, whoever is our president, stands before lawmakers every Wednesday. Or maybe we could modify our own, say, every 2 weeks to give account of stewardship. It will be interesting to see, because in Nigeria, the president doing media chat is almost a privilege. And these are leaders that we elected to account for whatever commonwealth we have. We can almost count how many times President Muhammadu Buhari did media chat. At least President Bola Tinubu, in less than 2 years, he has done one. So we can do an average of 2 in his first, if he's going to run again this term, you understand. So, but there, as soon as you become PM, you're going to be facing those opposition lawmakers who see nothing good in whatever you're doing. Every week, or literally 2 weeks, you're going to be facing them. I think it's good.
Sometimes it feels like a rap battle.
Well,
That's what it feels like. Just
it's like a cipher.
You know,
maybe not the same model, but we've tried a parliamentary system of government before, not being the entire exact model, and now we've been experimenting with the presidential model.
Before 66.
Well, I know. I'm just speaking to what you're saying. It's a good thought, but we're entirely, as far as leadership is concerned, we're entirely a different stock of people, drawn from different origin, and whenever we have these leadership conversations, it's always directed to the effect that perhaps we should try our hands on something best suited to our own uniqueness, our temperament, and our own origins. But that comment about whether she's taking that submission by the Prime Minister seriously or not, I'm not an expert in UK politics, but it just may be at her detriment if she does not, because that statement may just be evidence of what many may consider white supremacist thinking about her politicking in the last couple of months, particularly how she has thrown her own country under the bus. So they may not be deceived, about attempts to currying favor from, the Caucasians, ahead of the next election. So just, a thought that should be considered.
There you go. So those are some of your thoughts on that issue. We're switching gears now to the big story, and that's the Lagos State House of Assembly. We're going to be taking some of your comments, but that's right after the show. And we have two guests joining us to dissect these issues, so we get a better sense of what exactly is playing out in Lagos. So please stay with us. We'll be right back.
Why does it then look like there is some kind of favoritism going on here? Because today there are reports that Honorable Miranda's security aides have been withdrawn. Your security
do you call
aides,
that favoritism, my brother? What do you mean? When my own security personnel were removed, even when I was not around, without my knowledge, without my consent, did I complain? I did not complain now. And what we are saying, there was a meeting that took place in Marina, where we have in attendance all the party leaders, and openly, and all the members, openly Miranda himself made a statement that she has stepped down, and she has resigned. So when you resign from an office, paraphernalia of office will be taken away now. So what are you saying?
So have you resigned too? Because we understand that part of the deal is for you to also resign.
Well, let them bring the letter, and if I've resigned, will I be here?
Well, we are here to discuss that particular issue. We're joined in the studio by Mr. Kayode Suola, who's a research professor of politics at the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies, University of Lagos, right here in our Lagos studio, as well as Mr. Salvation Alibo, public affairs analyst. Gentlemen, good morning. Welcome.
Good morning.
Good morning. I know there's a big talk about the tussle, Game of Thrones, or Game of Seat, as the case may be, but I want to start from this. The quality of representation, because I want to imagine that the people of Lagos are watching and seeing their representatives. The world is also watching and seeing the quality of representation that is in the Lagos State House of Assembly. So I want you to start from there, from this whole back and forth. What can you say of the quality of representation in the Lagos State Assembly? Is this reflective of the center of excellence that Lagos is set to be? I'll begin with you, sir.
Thank you very much. It's impossible to use just one isolated case to determine the quality of representation. What is happening now is power game, is politicking. And you agree that in democracy, you struggle for power. So if there is a need to struggle for power to be able to represent people, it will be very emotive to, based on that alone, decide or assert that the quality of representation is A or B.
Is it excellent? Does it speak to the center of excellence that Lagos is?
What probably will inform that conclusion is a plethora of activities around governance in Lagos for the past depending on how long you want to go in history.
Or the lack of it, because for this period now, there's been a lot of back and forth.
You really need to take all the factors into consideration, not this isolated one.
How do you mean isolated? I don't
know. Because what you see now, as I told you, is just politicking.
So how is it isolated?
It's isolated because you cannot use that alone to determine whether or not the quality of representation in Lagos is apt. That's what I'm saying.
So what if it's a symptom of real underlying issues, that are there about and form concerns about our representation in Lagos State?
What representation should be, at least theoretically, is to speak the yearnings and aspirations of the people of your constituency, so that their interests will be taken into consideration when policy making comes up. I don't see that trend in what is going on now. Each of the people in crisis are saying, I have the mandate of my people, okay? Those involved in the House as lawmakers also say they are acting on the mandate of their people. Now, how do we verify that to then conclude, based on this issue, that the quality of representation is A or B? I'm just putting a word of caution that in public analysis, we avoid emotion and speak to fact. And the declaration that this alone cannot make us conclude.
So perhaps you also may have to intervene as well on this, because he's also talked about the issue of power, but perhaps my colleague is also re-emphasizing, we've heard Miranda talk, we've heard Obasa talk, we've even heard the person who spoke on behalf of the lawmakers were against Obasa talk. So it exudes a form of perception as to what people may consider quality of representation. Whether that quality of representation has to do with ability to articulate thoughts, ability to bring dividends of democracy. I don't know how you want to weigh your input on this one.
If you're referring to the finese and how they spoke, or the choice of language, or if they spoke the right grammar, okay, I don't think that really should be the judge of the quality of representation, all right, because they are elected to speak on behalf of their people, irrespective of their qualification. It's the ability to hear, understand the yearning of your people, and table it on the House, and to ensure that it is sold to the entire persons representing all the constituencies, so they agree to the yearning of your people. All right, like he pointed out, I don't see how the current trend actually affects the representation of the people at the grassroots, okay? When you are saying quality in this case, I believe maybe you are referring to the personalities involved, okay? If they really qualify to be able to speak on behalf of their people. My thought is this: as long as you are voted, then you qualify, because the people believe that you have they have your ears, you can speak on their behalf, and you can pass bills on their behalf. What's happening really, in a sense, if I may look at it from the kind of politics we play in this country, is kind of, I want to be there, all right, on behalf of my people. And if you take it, I mean, in this country we say, okay, someone from my place is the vice president, someone from my place is the commissioner. We throw parties when someone from our area is appointed commissioner or minister. Okay, that tells us that our people want our people to be there, all right? So part of representation for the people could be the fact that, oh, my people want me to be the speaker, so I have to be there to ensure that my people are the ones producing the speaker. So
my challenge here is not normalizing what is out of place. Because we just talked about the British Parliament now. We talk about the back and forth they have, but you never hear that there are two people someone is leading one plenary, and that person is leading another plenary of 4, and the other of about 20-something or 30 plus. We look at those climbs and we say, oh, they're doing well. But when we come back here, party primaries happen and 3 people are laying claims to just 1 ticket. We can even talk about the traditional institutions as well. Now we're talking about the House of Assembly. There's a Rivers case. Now there is a Lagos case. So yet again, just so we don't normalize, and children are even watching. We saw what played out at the Senate, for example, where there were students at the gallery who had come to monitor proceedings. And then after that, the altercation between the Senate president and Senator Natasha Akpoti-Oduaghan happened. And I was just thinking, what would those children go home with? So I don't want us to normalize what other people would see happening in Nigeria and think, what is going on here? Which is why I ask, is this the best we can do as a people representing constituents, if you get what I mean?
Okay. Okay, I think your question is clearer now. Okay. Is this the best we can do as a people?
No, which I said, the center of excellence. Excellence is the best. The sophistry and again, it was clear.
One mistake that we must not make is to think that political standards are universal, to the extent that what you see in the United States is what you're going to see in Japan and is what you're going to see in Africa. There is African politics. De facto, it exists. You may only compare it and say this is better, okay? But African politics exist de facto. And in interrogating African politics, what you see is that crisis of development, because the system in practice is still very, very, extremely young. It is in the process of development. There are no 2 ways about it, you know. And in the process of development, you must undergo crisis of development. Remember, it never happened in Lagos State that you have this kind of scenario. Perhaps it happened in other places.
So that negates the we're still young theory. Because we should, it didn't happen when Lagos was younger in that sense. It's happening when Lagos is older, if you grab what I mean. So it negates that point.
But we're pivoting, okay? This democracy is about 26 years old, all right? And it's been a bit smooth, kind of, for Lagos State, all right? And we've come to a point where there's a kind of maturity setting in, or some kind of growing, and then muscles are, you know, tensing up, and then it's time for pivot, okay? So I think after this entire scenario, we'll be seeing a different kind of political engineering in Lagos State. There will be alignment and realignment. I think that's the stage where we are in. Okay, I don't want us to judge our development by this situation. So we've seen wars in some climes, okay, across some developed nations. But what happens when you are growing is that sometimes you fall back, you have to rise. You make mistakes, you learn from them, and you grow. In this particular scenario, there's a lot about to happen in 2027, okay? Lagos had a bit of zoning and shift, okay? When Ambode, someone came in, saw Obasa stay for 3 consecutive terms as speaker, and then decisions have been made, whether we like it or not, okay? Earlier we're chatting and we're saying something like, well, there are drummers, definitely, and I said the drummers are not really far. Okay, and at the end of the day, whose drum is loudest is who will be settling for. It's just normal for alignments to happen and realignments, and what you're seeing are probably symptoms of it. Okay, that's.
And just to add quickly to that is that the GAC is at the center of this crisis.
And that's
and
where
this was set
I'm
up
headed.
in 1999. 26 years after, or thereabouts.
It's a powerful non-state actor.
Yeah, but it has to overhaul.
And that's where I'm headed, Prof.
That is how
because
politics
Kade's question is instructive for a lot of reasons. And, you know, pivoting may be inadequate, you know, to tell the true story, because some would say that it's debatable that Lagos has had it smooth. Some would say it has had it smooth because APC has held onto the chokehold. The Lagos governance has been at the chokehold of APC for a very long time. But the inconsistency that we see may not necessarily, I don't know what you think, but does it speak to the representation of the people or the representation of their own interests. I'm talking about the lawmakers themselves now. Because when you see that 4 lawmakers are in plenary presided over by the ousted speaker, and the others are saying, Madam Speaker, speak on. And the GAC, as we have seen, is unable to intervene and resolve this matter in the past 2 weeks or so. So what do you say about the inconsistencies that we're seeing? Prof, I'd like you to weigh in
so
on that.
I now clearly agree with you that there are inconsistencies. I also agree with you that it is quite easy to point to an organization or a structure as not being, proactive enough to avoid this crisis or resolve it, as the case may be. But I also insist, with due respect to Kayode's position, that
my question.
Your question. Okay. That this isolated case is not enough. And we're explaining now, we're not justifying. We're explaining what is happening and what should happen. It's not enough to determine the quality of representation. Were we to be discussing governance in Lagos State, issues at stake, projects achieved, psychological manipulation of the people and the orientation of the people, then we can have enough data to predict whether or not we have good quality of representation. But I agree with you, for emphasis, that some structure, some organization, some individuals have failed in what they are supposed to do, hence the crisis at hand.
So let's now talk to the issue itself. I listened to Mudashiru Obasai, and it was quite interesting, his perspective. He said they went on a recess. More like he was alluding to the fact that he was perhaps ambushed, just for lack of a better word. There's supposed to be a reconvening of the House. He's supposed to be aware of it. And then he said he's not against being removed or being impeached. It has to be done the right way. But if you look at the law of Nigeria, I think section 92, in that subsection, one of the subsections doesn't really give the lawmakers, they don't need a reason. If you ask a lot of lawyers, they can just wake up on the wrong side of the bed. It's not like impeachment for governors, there's a long process. He's saying that there's a southwestern model for removing or whatever a speaker and all. I want you to speak to the issue of constitutionality of what is playing out in the Lagos State House of Assembly, because they can interpret whatever they want to interpret. Miranda can stand and say what she wants to do, or Basa can say what he wants to do, but we have a ground norm on how things should be done. So whatever they are doing has to be around the premise of the law.
Okay, I believe he's speaking to the fact that he was accused of high-handedness and some fraud or something, and it was on those bases that he was removed, okay? And he's saying that the process was not followed, maybe referring to, oh, there should have been a petition against him, and then he should have had a fair hearing, and then to third member of the House, or to then vote on the hearing to decide.
But that's not the law.
Well,
that's not the Constitution.
That's maybe what he expected, okay? But as you have spoken to it, you just need a majority vote to decide, whether you're going to be there or not, okay? But as we already judged by the characters involved, there's a lot of informality about the personalities, okay? So they believe a lot in the kind of, for lack of a better word, parabo, kind of arrangement where we all agree that this is how we run. It's unwritten constitution to say that instead of impeachment, removals, those kind of terms, and then it's going to be the party or the leadership that agrees that, okay, yeah, you're going to step down. And then he says he's not averse to it, he's not going to argue that, but he wants that kind of parabolic arrangement to work for him. All right, so where we all agree that I'm supposed to step down, and he's saying if that is it, if that process is followed, he's going to accept that. Okay,
so in essence, I mean, I will want you to ask your question, but in essence, law is one aspect of life that I hardly ever dangle into. And even the lawyers will tell you that it's very slippery. Law can be interpreted in 1,000,001 ways. 1,000,001
Especially
ways.
in Nigeria.
All over the world.
No, it's
did you see how Trump eventually emerged as American president? In spite of all the court cases and indictments and all this, law is an instrument in the hands of politics. Sadly so, but that's the reality. Behind every law and interpretation of it, there is the politics. And that is why I like the idea of drummers. For the two actors in this crisis, there must have been drummers. We don't know them. We don't have the soothsaying power to know them. But there are drummers. And at the end of the day, it is not unlikely that these two drummers will come together, realign and align again, and then move forward to the next stage in the political history of Lagos State. For me, what is happening is not abnormal. It is necessary in the process of development in Lagos State. What we can only hope is for us to come out better. That's what I think.
So since you speak of drummers, naturally they will be dancers. Instead of well, actors and dancers then. So let's look at the possible drummers, because clearly these things are out in the open. So the president has been mentioned. In fact, one of the front pages says that the governor claims that the governor was denied access to the president twice. It had also been claimed that Mr. Obasa was denied access to the president when he was in Lagos. So there's the president, there's the governor naturally as part of the candidates, possible drummers. There's the GAC, obviously in the open. But some look at what is playing out, particularly with the security detail as we wind down, that accompanied Mr. Obasa. And the fact that the security detail of Mr. Miranda was withdrawn and then restored. They recall the DSS coming to the assembly. Eventually, DSS arrested some people who they said that assaulted DSS officials. So the DSS also is in the mix, a candidate for part of the drama. So I don't know what you would call them. So I'd like you to speak to what we've called, I don't know if they're actually victims in this as well, but the security agencies. They're meant to enforce the law. But it's the challenge here now which law they're enforcing or which perspective of a law they're enforcing, because clearly now they're on both sides. So, Mr. Let me come to you first. Yeah, how does this, does it put them in a tricky situation, or are they meant to be the ones
the security personnel?
Yeah, the security.
Okay, so this is it. They are the executors, okay, of the law, okay, and their responsibility is to carry out orders, okay. So I like to put it like this, that if you're a worker, okay, you just follow instructions. So irrespective of whose ox is God, okay, you just have to do what you were
So the
asked to
Inspector
do.
General of Police is giving orders to police to follow
he's not going to, no policeman is going to deploy himself to a location. A location like Lagos State House of Assembly, you cannot wake up and just drive there. Somebody powerful gave you the instruction, somebody high enough to be obeyed. All right, and what instructions come per time is determined by who is playing at the back end in the game. All right, so an instruction came the first time, there were realignments, and then instruction come again, and then there's now movement. So I don't think in this case they are victims. I think they are just neutral players responding to instructions per time. All right, these instructions are determined by the game that is being played.
Well, we wonder what will be the outcome of the game, particularly if we listen closely to what is also being said by the ousted speaker, that Speaker Miranda has resigned at the meeting, GAC meeting in Marina, and that because of the concern about Miranda coming from the same place as the governor, the reason for the intervention, and then another name is being named from Lagos West as possible replacement. I hate to play the gender card, but don't you think this would be a missed opportunity for
the female?
Yeah, for the female. That's on the one hand, and is it a sacrifice on the altar of origin rather than merit? What are your thoughts?
I agree with you on this gender card issue.
You've been agreeing with Bukola a lot.
I don't see man-woman dichotomy when I see politics. I see you as a person, what you can do, where you should get to. I don't want to be involved in whether it's a woman who is taking over and a woman. No. Is the person qualified? One. Two, is the person respecting the political permutation of the state? Because I read somewhere, I don't want to believe it, but it gives some insight to the analysis, that even when President Tinubu, as the leader of the party and the hegemonic personality of Lagos politics, is not in support of the outside speaker, well, the speaker, Obasa, for certain reason, is also not well disposed to his removal, again, for certain political reasons. Maybe in terms of representation, in terms of zoning, in terms of everything. What that tells you is that political decisions are very complex. Right? There are so many factors that we don't see as observers, as commentators, that the politicians must take into consideration before they decide. And that is why I am not often very comfortable making sweeping declarations. You must take several factors into consideration. And that's exactly what is going on.
Interesting points there, and we have to thank you so much. Mr. Kayode Iswola, Research Professor of Politics at the Institute of African and Diaspora Studies, University of Lagos, as well as Mr. Salvation Alibo, Public Affairs Analyst. Thank you so much for your time.
Thank you very much, guys.
Enlightening. Thank you.
We can only wish Lagos State the best. It will come on.
Everybody will be fine. No, finally, everybody will be fine. In the end, we'll be fine.
Oh, wow. Yeah. This is clearly not the end, but we'll take a pause now. When we return, we have some more interesting conversation for you right here, so please stay with us. Now let's talk about how you can transform your mobile devices into a personal digital assistant and maximize it. Oh yes, we're not just about politics, we're about making your life better for it. And we're joined as always by Aki Ibitoye, TMB Tech Advisor on the PCFix segment. Mr. Ibitoye, good morning. Welcome to the Morning Brief.
Good morning, Kayode.
So let's switch gears now. A lot of people use their mobile devices for gaming, social media, a lot of other things, calculator and all of that. But a lot of people don't realize how well this device can become your personal digital assistant. And this is not to take the job from personal assistants and the rest. But I'd like you to walk us through how we can transform this device into a productivity tool proper now.
Okay, so it's important to realize how powerful gadgets have become.
Yeah.
The technology that was used to send man to the moon back in the 60s is equivalent to the power in a Nokia 3310. All right? I kid you not. That is how powerful the computer was, and they still did those massive feats. And we all carry about smartphones that are 1 million times more powerful in processing power these days. So your computer that you carry in your hand that we call smartphone is essentially a very powerful computer. So there are a few things you can do with them that you did not know before, or maybe you knew, but you just don't realize how to go about it. So first thing is you can issue voice commands to your smartphones. All the smartphones that have been produced from 2008 upwards have this feature. You can issue voice commands. You can speak to your phone and it can type out what you're saying. They say do not text and drive, especially if you are in transit. You can speak and your phone can type it out. So if you have an idea, you need to send an SMS, or you are cooking, or you are just doing something where your hand cannot type, just speak and your phone will type out what you're saying. So one of the apps to use for this is the speech-to-text keyboard. It comes with all Android devices. You can download the app for your iOS device as well. Issue commands to your phone. It will make life a lot easier. The next thing you can do is you have your phone read out loud to you. In December when we were on one of our episodes, we said an average person spends about 26 days this year looking at their phones. That was last year when we were doing the review. So we spend a lot of time looking at the screen. One of the ways you can increase your productivity is not look at the screen, but have the phone read out loud to you. You can read out your emails, your SMS, but of course you might want to have earpiece on so that you don't have your confidential information read out loud to everybody else. Then you can curate, listen to audiobooks. If you're in transit, if you're cooking, if you're doing jobs that require your hands but do not require your ears, you can actually have your phone read out loud to you. Some of the apps you can use are speech recognition synthesis, available for both Android and iOS, and of course live transcription and notification as well. More often than not, we forget we have meetings, we forget we have things to do, because we live in a fast-paced society. There's so much to do. You are moving from one meeting to the other. So you need to manage your schedule. So the calendar app is the easiest thing you can use in this world. It just gives you notification, 30 minutes, 15 minutes, depending on what you said before your meeting. Then when you have a conflict of scheduling, it gives you the notification straight. So if you want to fix a meeting or you want to promise someone, I will meet you at so time, your calendar will tell you, oh, you already have a prior engagement. This makes our life easier. And really, that's the work of a personal assistant.
Yeah.
And because we carry this personal digital assistant around and don't use them as much as we should, especially if you are carrying a flagship device like Kayode is carrying, you need to get the best out of it. No, I'm not shading you. I know you use your phone a lot. You are not one of the top 1% that use these devices.
So you're doing the sandwich approach. I like that. Beautiful. And so you talked about voice commands. I'm going to be doing that a lot too. Read out loud, and I just realized it makes sense. It reduces how much you glare at look at your phone.
Exactly.
But you talked about schedule management as well, but there's also the health bit. It looks like these devices are way more than we're actually utilizing them, Mr. Bitoye.
Hey, see, remember one of the episodes I mentioned that your smartphone knows more about you than you know about yourself, than your parents know about you. Yes, so you can use your device for health and wellness tracking. You need to track how much time you sit in a day, how much calories you burn, how much calories you take in. So some of the apps you can use are already on your phone. Google Fit, Apple Health, Samsung Health, all these apps are on your both Android and iOS devices. And what they do is they track your health. Some of them combine with wearables, smartwatches, smart bracelets, smart goggles. What they do is track your vitals, your heart rate, track your blood pressure, track your sugar levels. Most of these apps have been thought through by the manufacturers, but more often than not, we just pick our phone, make calls, send text, chat, check Instagram, then we don't make use of it. Something else you can do is use it to monitor your nutrition. More often than not, because we live in a fast-paced society, you don't have time to cook and you're always on the go. You need to quickly get and beat traffic. So we just grab a snack here and there. So we are high on carbs, low on protein, low on vitamins. So some of these apps will help you to monitor your health and help you to live healthier lives. Again, what a personal assistant will do.
I love that.
Next thing is learning.
Yeah.
Learning. You have a whole university on your phone, but if you use the apps, you will definitely get them. So Duolingo is an app that helps you to learn any language in the world, the hardest to the easiest, in a matter of weeks. Duolingo, Khan Academy for your children from primary school all the way to senior secondary school, class 3. You have classes on Khan Academy for free that you can learn across subjects, sciences, arts, the humanities, commercial. All of these are there, but these smartphones are just there. They're not just for watching skits and watching movies. No offense to the skit makers, but you can do a whole lot more with your smartphone. Then, of course, you have Udemy, you have Coursera. All of these apps are there. And what you can do is you can learn virtually anything, from playing musical instruments to learning how to do crafts. And you can learn how to cook. Well, I have learned a thing or two recipes that I do not know before. Just open up YouTube and you find a ton of content creators in Nigeria that have made cooking traditional meals. For example, you want to eat ikokore for those from the southwestern part of Nigeria, you can learn to make it online.
There you go.
So, oh yes.
Beautiful. So two more points I'd like you to speak to, and that's the money bit, right? and the looks. Can our phones or mobile devices help us with our finances and maybe with our looks as well? You know, it's Friday, we're going to the weekend. You know, as we wind down those 2 points,
So your phone is a very fantastic personal finance tracker. You know, the way we spend money these days, back in the days when cash was still king, you carry cash about, you penny pinch. Before you remove the money to pay somebody, you price very well. But these days, you just see buy, add to cart, order. So the money goes faster than you can track it. However, with certain apps on your phone, you can track your finance and you can even set a budget. You can lock your money away to prevent you from spending it if you are a spender.
Yeah.
You can lock the money away. So some of these apps include PiggyVest, Cowrywise, and Colopay. These are actually local apps because we need to develop our very own, support our own developers as well. These apps will help you to manage your finances. You need to track it. Instead of wondering where your money went, tell your money where to go. And of course, you can manage your investment from your phones as well. A lot of the traditional banks and the new fintechs have a lot of investment instruments that you want to study, read up on, then leverage as well.
So let's quickly talk about fashion. We have about 30 seconds or so to wind down.
Just one more.
Yeah.
Fashion assistant. You do not know that your phone can help you to combine colors, combine the fashion accessories and all of that. For someone like me, I have somebody watching me now that can just look at me with the side of their eyes. I just wear anything I like. However, say, no, you can't do that. With the fashion assistant, there are a couple of apps displayed on the screen: Stylebook, Index, and Save Your Wardrobe. You'd put the fashion items you already have, and these apps using AI, and some of them using human interaction, would actually tell you how to combine the colors, tell you what to wear for certain weather, for certain occasions. So your phone is already a full-time staff that you paid for upfront.
I love this. I'm going to be trying a few of them. But Mr. Akimitoye, this has been very enlightening. I'm trying a few of them, and I'll give you feedback on some of these things. And I really hope that it doesn't put personal assistants out of work, because sometimes you still need the physical touch. So we'll speak with Mr. Akimitoye on how to really get the very best from his smartphones in terms of productivity. He is a TMB tech advisor joining us via Zoom from Lagos. Thank you so much, Mr. Akimitoye. Wish you the best.
Thank you for having me. Have a wonderful day, Karen. Thank you.
Thank you. So, from your relationship with your smartphones to your relationship with the people you love, and Bukola is taking us on that journey. Bukola.
Indeed. Thank you, Kayode. Well, what will we do without our smartphones? But more importantly, what would we do without each other? So that's where we're headed now, to that very important aspect of our lives, and that would be building strong and lasting marriages. And to help us on this conversation, we have the perfect person: family strategist and consultant, founder, the Institute of Family Engineering and Development Africa, IFED, Coach Praise Fuwe, who joins us virtually from Ubri, Texas. Hello again, Coach PF. This is perhaps one of the fastest comebacks to the morning brief. The last time we had you, you had just won the Presidential Award for Community Service, the President Joe Biden Award, and you're back again. We're glad to have you. Welcome to the morning brief.
Yeah, it's a pleasure being back again. It's early morning. I should be sleeping, but I mean, we'll do anything for Channels Television. I'm excited to be back again.
Thank you for the sacrifice. So it's an important conversation, particularly set against the backdrop of what's happening in recent times. We just, bemoaned the marriages that we have, the marriage that we had celebrated for perhaps more than a decade in the music scene. And so before we even get to building strong and lasting marriages, maybe we should understand what leads to the breakup of marriages. You are an experienced family life strategist. From some of the conversations that you have had as a family health doctor, what are the things that you find to be underlying causes that manifest as symptoms when you speak with couples?
Okay, thank you very much. Unknown to a lot of people, marriages, I mean, when I see people say things like, oh, marriages are bad. Marriages don't fail. It's the people in the relationship that fail. And oftentimes a lot of the people are not even aware of what they were dealing with when they got into the marriage, because many people in marriages had what we likely call pre-existing condition, which are unresolved trauma, right? And so when they come in a marriage, they do not know that they are bringing patterns and they are bringing ideologies from the family that raised them into a relationship. Now, it will interest you to know that, I mean, I practiced for 24 years. A lot of the marriages in crisis, when I'm asking the question, why did you get married? You will be shocked at the answers they give you. You will hear things like, I got married to her because I've always wanted someone to take care of the home. That person needed a housekeeper, not necessarily a wife. You hear things like, I mean, I got married to him because, you know, he was nice and all those things. So the reason for getting married is not usually strong enough for the marriages to work. The other factor is the fact that an average marriages that go through a crisis lack what we call the family life vision of the family vision. So when you're asking a typical couple what a family vision is, which is a vision is a mental picture of a preferred future, which means the end that we both of us are looking forward to. They don't have, and even when they have, it's not uniform. So they are in a relationship, they are holding themselves, but they are headed in different directions. So every other thing people talk about as their basic symptoms, the fundamental issue is the fact that there is one person who is unsettled, whose trauma is unsettling the relationship, or in some cases, the two of them are dealing with unresolved trauma, and eventually they traumatize themselves in the relationship. And they will say that, you see, people in hurting people eventually hurt others and they hurt themselves. So that's what is happening at the foundational level of many relationship. But what people say is, oh, he's cheating on this person is not faithful, this person is fighting the other person. But the foundational issues are often not discussed, and it's because you ask yourself what level of premarital counseling did they go through before they got married? Because if they went through a professional session, there are assessments that could have picked what would likely be a problem in many marriages.
So let's ask a very fundamental question that sometimes maybe is misinterpreted, poorly defined, or not defined at all. Who is a wife? Who is a husband?
Okay, now, so before you talk about a wife, you can't talk about a wife before talking about male and female in the relationship, right? And so, because a lot of people who even teach these things, they misrepresent, misunderstand, and miscommunicate some of these things, right? Because you cannot be a wife and a husband without, first of all, you know, becoming a male or female, or a man or woman. Now, a lot of people don't know that female is simply the expression of the feminine expression of humanity, while male is the masculine expression of humanity. Now, at those two levels, you are supposed to be able to develop, to grow, to have a personal vision for yourself, to be able to develop yourself, add value to the society, and honest living, and be able to at least feed yourself before you come to the marital table. Now, if we are now, so which means at the realm of male and female, you're talking about identity. The role is where you now have husband and wife. And a husband simply, I mean, the word bridegroom defines a typical husband, which means is a groomer of a bride. Your job description is already defined, which means you are supposed to be able to groom whatever comes to you and make her better. And that's why you can't be a husband and be competing with your wife, because you are actually supposed to groom her to become the best version of herself and set her free to manifest at the highest level. Because if she begins to manifest at the highest level, she defers to you, because it's for lack of a better word, you are a coach, a world-class coach of a world-class player. Right? The effect of your grooming ability is what we find in your wife. Wife, on the other end, I mean, if you look at the etymology of the word wife, it's interesting to know that it's the word Ezer, right, which has its root in the kind of help that only God could have supplied. If you check it in Greek, it's the word parakletos, which is similar to the word used for the Holy Spirit, which means she's a help meet. And that's why we say to a woman that, I mean, a lot of people want to get a marriage, that if you are not going to trust the leadership of the person you want to get married to, them, there's no point in getting married to them. So for lack of a better word, or to put it in the context of our everyday language, the husband is like the president of a nation, The wife is like the vice president of a nation. The head of the nation knows. It's neither the smartest, it's neither the strongest, it's not the best. It's simply a servant saddled with the responsibility of creating an ideal environment where the potential of everyone can find expression. Now, when people don't understand these definitions, they will run into crisis, and a whole lot of infighting will begin to happen, because of the culture, or because of what they've been taught or what they've seen over time, and then both of them are going to self-sabotage if the care is not taken.
Interesting. Thank you for that explanation. I hope some people get it in the future, that the women are the helpers in that sense that you describe it. But Coach, I'm glad you're talking to us from the United States. And I want you to speak to this, what seems to be a growing marital crisis from those who migrate from these parts, and they begin to settle in the West. And more often than not, the story is that the husband is unable to step into the new role set against the peculiar challenges of what the West dictates. And more often than not, it ends in the breakup of the marriage. Is it a case of, in these parts, they were able to function well because, everything is available, and then settling in, reveals what was truly in them? So what are the things that you find to be the underlying factors responsible, and how can it be tackled such that migration does not lead to breakup of marriages?
I think you really answered the question yourself. What is happening is marriages in Africa mostly it's emotional. Marriages in the West or in the United States or North America is systems based, right? And so I was working in the UK last year, April, and I stumbled on the latest data that says 48% of marriages that crash in the UK cite unreasonable behavior. Majority of those marriages that crash are new immigrants who are just coming in. What is unreasonable behavior, you might want to ask? Unreasonable behavior is a situation where people migrate from Africa and they move to the West or they move to other parts of the world, and the men still expect women to fully function the way they function in Africa, wherein you have to cook breakfast, you have to take care of the children. Unfortunately, when people move to this part of the world, children are malleable. The first thing you notice about your children is that their accent changes almost immediately. The women are able to blend faster, also because, they get jobs faster and all. But a lot of the men emotionally never move out of the African thinking. And so unreasonable behavior is where a man gets to the UK or gets to America, is not even willing to cook, is not willing to do anything. He just thinks that, the way it works is the same way it's going to work out here. Unfortunately, the system here favors, the priority actually is the child, the wife, the women, and then the men. Right? So when our men don't understand this, they don't learn new skills that enables them effectively work out here. The gaps that Africa did not reveal will be revealed so widely here. And it's a function of how do you see your wife. If you see your wife as a friend, if you see your wife as a teammate, right, then it wouldn't matter. You will know that star players don't win or lose matches. It takes a thing to lose and win matches. You will know that the narrative will change from when you clean your house, for example, you say, I'm helping my wife. Your wife is not a cleaner. You are helping your family. You are keeping your family clean by mopping the floor. When you babysit, you are not helping your wife. You are helping your child and helping your family. And so what we began to do, because, last year was bad. It was bad. It was a bloodbath. A lot of marriages crashed out here. What we began to do is to create an entry program for a lot of Nigerians and Africans who are now migrating here, to say, okay, there is a simple course they can easily take that helps them understand that life in Africa is totally different from life here. So in that course, they begin to learn about how to quickly create a family vision, how to create the family values, how to create the family system, how the system out here works, and how to even script their romance and how to raise their children, right? And so those are the things people need to begin to learn. Right. But the fundamentals are families in Africa is emotional, families out here is systems driven.
All right, we just have maybe less than 2 minutes to end this conversation, but there's an intervention I would like you to quickly comment on, which has to do with the complexities of power. They say it's a patriarchal society, men rule the world, So when man is in a position of power, or whether he has money or is a political position and uses it, even when he's being excessive, people stay with the issue of the money and the power. But if it's a woman, they quickly refer to the fact because she's a woman. So I want you to help women in this complexity to balance on how to manage power. Because as soon as a woman does one thing or the other, say, is it because you have money? Is it because you're that? So I know you understand my drift.
I do. You know, the problem, again, it goes back to the foundation. How do you see a woman? Do you see a woman as a human being who is subservient to man, or you see her as the feminine expression of you? If what you're saying is the feminine expression of you, then it wouldn't matter whether she's the one in power. You'll be excited at the fact that someone that you literally produce or someone that you know is in power, and we need to deal with our own insecurity. I'm not saying that some women don't have excesses, but can we deal with our insecurities and be comfortable in our own skin to understand? Because the question you ask is, if that person were your daughter, your thinking will be totally different. So how come you can't see your wife in that light, as it were? So it comes back to the fact that what vision are we trying to push as a family? If we understand the end, then it wouldn't matter who does what. We will know that we're, first of all, friends. The major gap that exists is the fact that how we define who we are is faulty. The moment we all go back to the fact that the female is the feminine expression of humanity, which is the word man, because originally the word man is not gender-centric, and the male is the masculine expression of humanity, we will come to a table where we collaborate as against compete. And how we see the person is a human being, which is an expression of me, a type of me. And we would go back to the African ideology, which is Ubuntu. I am because you are. There is no me without you. Whatever I do against you, I do against myself. At that level, we will all calm down and take a chill pill and provide support for one another without thinking that someone is turning you down, person is talking you down. At the end of the day, can we build a society that works? I think that's what we should be talking about.
And you know what they say, that patriarchy is its own enemy. Coach, I'd love you to speak on situationships, but of course it's an ongoing conversation, and we're going to have you again, I'm sure, in the near future. We've been talking with Praise Fuwowe, who is the founder, Institute of Family Systems Engineering and Development, and a family life strategist. Thank you so much for your time on the program.
My pleasure. Bye.
All right. So we're not quite done with the expression of emotion in that sense of the word. We're expanding on that conversation, but on a different level, which is just as compelling. I want you to stay with us for this one coming up right after this time out. Join us again.
Welcome back. Let's talk about content creation and all the multiple layers around it. We're being joined on the program by a marketing executive at Sterling FHC and content and social media for CAF1 Fusion. King David Ayoloto, thank you so much for coming on the program.
Hi, thank you for having me.
So the world, you know, one of the things we've realized right now is that the world we live in, especially in the last few years and in 2025, that content creation is a space that has come to stay. And you're playing in that space. Give us an overview of what you see as some of the negative and positive traction that you are noticing and what can be done differently.
Positive, I'm going to start with that. Positive is there's no gatekeeping anymore. If you're good and you put yourself out there, you'll be seen. Nobody has control over who gets seen anymore. If you're really good at your art and put yourself out there, people would see it. If your product is really good and put yourself out there, you'll be seen. The negative side to it is what a lot of people call brain rot. People are doing stuff just because they want to go viral. People are doing stuff just because they want to get engagement. And we're seeing a lot of, allow me to use the word rubbish online, but it's, of course, once something is made available to the public, you're going to find all sorts of things there. So it's up to you as a person to decide, okay, what do I want to see? What do I want to see online? That's why you see people say things like, okay, I built my algorithm brick by brick, only for me to see this. Yeah, that's what I would say. That's like.
So are you worried that there are no guardrails in that sense because of the democratization of opportunity and what that could portend for the world?
I wouldn't say there are no guardrails. I would say it's just society depicted online. That's what it is. There are things that are put in place to ensure that people don't post rubbish. But even in people not post, even in guidelines being there, people are still posting rubbish. So just like society, you see, there are certain things you can't do. Public indecency is something that is against the law, but you still see some people dress indecently. So it's very subjective. Yeah. So yeah, you would always have that.
Okay. Karen, you want me to take this next? Okay. I love your content.
Oh, thank you so much.
I once in a while spend time on it, and one of the things that I've observed about you is your vulnerability and the healing quality that comes with the content that you
so much.
Put out, making people comfortable, being in touch with their emotions, and helping them understand that they're okay the way they are as long as they keep trying, and that's unique. And flowing from that, I'd like you to share with us your backstory. Were you always that real as a person?
Oh, thank you. I would say, first off, my mom retired yesterday. Allow me to do this. Mom, I'm on TV. She retired yesterday from teaching on this state teaching service. She's done that for 35 years. So, Mom. Yeah, my mom always said one thing. She said, if King David puts his mind to something, he's always going to do it. But then it used to sound like it's like the hear word. But I sit back with it and I realized that she always saw that I was always myself with everything. She always said that King David is this guy who doesn't hide how he feels about stuff. I'd said some things to my parents sometimes and they're like, what did this kid drink? And they always gave me space to just be, really. And I feel like honesty is, I have a philosophy. If we took away lying from the world, everything will be fine. Everything is rooted in lies, really, if you sit with it. I'm a Christian. If you take it, the devil is the father of all lies. So once you take him out of the mix, just take lies out and we'd have better lives once we're honest. And I try to pour that out there. And I also believe that stories are one of the things that heal us. When you get to see what other people are dealing with, it makes you feel less alone. It makes you realize that this is not new. If someone else is going through it, there's a chance that someone somewhere is finding a solution to it, even if you don't have the solution now. And really, community really helps go through life. There's this analogy I saw online. There was a study, I think it was a study a couple of people did where friends were made to, a person was made to stand and look at the mountain and say, how steep is it? And they said it was, the people that stood alone said it was quite steep, but when they stood with a friend or with someone they were comfortable with, they always saw it as less steep. So I feel the same thing applies to life. You can walk through your challenges when you know you're not alone. But yeah.
Beautiful. Something else I find really remarkable about you, your person, what you do, is that your designation doesn't just read content creator or influencer.
Yeah.
You actually have a real life job, not one.
I work for mainly for I'm employed by Sterling FHC, but I work as content marketing executive and content creator for Cafe One and Fusion, two different products.
So you have 3 jobs.
Kinda.
Well,
and 3 accounts.
3 accounts. And that's what I really found very interesting. And we had that conversation on the side, how you say, yes, content creation is great, but you're also big on building a structure, understanding systems, being able to replicate. And you find a lot of people these days, and I love Gen Zs. I think they're able to break barriers, challenge the status quo, make the millennials look like the sacrificial lamb. To enjoy.
You guys know who we are. Let's just put that there.
Sense,
you guys
right?
know who we are.
I appreciate all of the Gen Z energy, but you are also trying to find a balance. Why is that really important for you?
Well, my dad always said one thing. Shout out to you, Dad. I'm sure you're seeing this. He always said one thing. He gave me a book to read when I was like 16, 17. Talent is not enough. And really, you can be really, really talented, but you have to put systems in place to ensure that your talent gets the results you want out of it. Of course, I studied law, by the way. I didn't mention that. I used to be a lawyer.
You studied law?
Yeah, practiced for 10 months. Realized it wasn't for me, and I ran away. Yeah, my friends supported me, so cheers to you, mom and dad, once again. But
You've
yeah,
been through a lot in your hands, actually.
so systems, yes, back to systems.
Talent is not enough.
Talent is not enough. You're trying to build something. You need to learn from people who are doing what you want to do. And really, when it comes to building, you can learn building systems from anybody. And one of the best ways to learn to build systems is to look at people who have built systems that are working. It's one of the reasons why I love what I do. I'm getting to learn on 3 different fronts. I'm learning providing services. I'm learning selling physical products, because Cafe One is a workspace business and also a coffee shop. So I'm learning from those 2 fronts. We're also building a product, Fusion. Fusion is a social media platform for Nigerians by Nigerians. So we're doing that also. So I'm learning how to sell a digital product, how to make something like that work. I'm learning how to interact with customers one-on-one, and also how to create a space for people to be comfortable with themselves and work and be productive. So yeah, once you're going somewhere, you have to find people who are doing what you want to do. Use their system to learn. My former employer always said something to me. He said, you are learning with my resources, really. Like, right. You're actually growing and building yourself with my resources. So people say they don't want to work in 9 to 5, they want to work for somebody else. I'm like, relax. My first job in content, I did that for a year. I was social media manager. I was helping with podcast productions. I was handling audio. I was doing a lot of things. It seemed like a lot. It was a lot. See, I love you, but it was a lot. It was a lot. But I sit with it and I'm like, if I sat by myself, with myself in my house, in my room, in my father's house, I may not have had the resources I had. I got to meet people on that job. I got to connect with people, got to learn from other people on that job. So yeah, that's that, yeah.
It's interesting listening to you. So there's something you will help us do in building systems, especially people that are quite busy. I remember when the chairman of UBA and Hares Holding, Tony Lumelu, was asked the question, because he's literally traveling and busy doing a lot of things. How do you juggle this in family and all? He said prioritization. Talk to us about time management. You have 3 things you're doing. I'm sure maybe there are more we don't know. How do you manage it and to stay effective? In closing.
To be very honest, I have no idea what I'm doing.
Say that again?
I have no idea what I'm doing. But I'm doing it. I prioritize my work for my team, like my job. I prioritize that's top for me, because there's a lot more at stake there. Other people's jobs are at stake. My job is at stake. The company is at stake. As much as it's someone else's company, it's kind of my company too, because what I do affects it. Yeah. Even when I leave, whatever I've done there is going to be credited to me. So that is priority. Next is what I do content-wise. And as much as there is the need to constantly put stuff out there and keep going, like be at par with the algorithm, I always try to ensure that I check myself with what's the purpose of this content. I'm not just churning stuff out. It's okay, what do I want this to do? And once I have that, I put it out. If for the next 1 week I don't have anything that I feel is substantial, I relax and face my job.
So there's your whole body with that one.
Everybody will be fine.
David, I hate to put you on the spot, right?
We have less than 10
What
seconds.
is that word, that line that you're ruminating on, that you want to share with? Well, that's your camera. People are used to you doing black and white, but for the first time we're doing color with King David. So that's your camera. If you, I don't know, just a line, whatever you want to share with the world, just right there.
You're enough. No matter what it is that you are dealing with right now, you are enough. Sitting here, I at some point did not think I would amount to anything, really. I had my doubts, but whatever you need to be, who you are meant to be, is already inside of you. You just have to give it expression, and you are enough. Once again.
Brilliant. King David Ayaloso, marketing executive at Sterling FSC, content and social media creator for Cafe One, right?
Yeah, Fusion, yeah.
Plus 10 other jobs he does that he didn't tell us about. Thank you for coming on the program. We'll take a quick break, guys. When we come back, we'll get to, let me use Bukola's stem, another leg of the conversation. Join us again.
You know, when they say music breaks barriers, we're doing that literally on the show. Ladies and gentlemen, there you have Dio DJ Delight, disc jockey joining us from London. So music is actually breaking barriers. Dio DJ Delight, you're welcome to the Morning Brief. Fantastic work you're doing, breaking barriers as a female DJ in the UK, preaching the good message of Afrobeats. Fantastic work. And that's what we're getting into on the show this morning. What is Friday without some good music? But right here in our Lagos studio, we also have joining us the CEO of Silent Party Africa. See what we did there, right? His name, Enyifunjowo Kudus, and is right here with us in our Lagos studio. Good morning.
Yeah, good morning. Olu.
So, Dio DJ Delight doing her thing, you doing your thing as well. And I want to start with you because, as Jeffrey said, I'm sure the Commissioner for Environment in Lagos is happy with what you're doing, Silent Disco. So what inspired this for you, and how much of a traction is it gaining? Then we'll go to Dio DJ Delight and talk about her own form of art.
Okay, so Silent Party was actually inspired post-COVID activities. What happened during the COVID period when the $1.2 million ecosystem of nightlife was at its lowest ebb, exactly. And my partner and I, Femi, we decided to apply a technological surgery, if I would say, just to salvage the situation where people couldn't party, everyone was on lockdown. Yeah. And come to think of it, we had like a major break of Silent Party here in Opik at Bams Park.
So you're back to where it all started.
Exactly.
There you go. That's beautiful. I'm curious to know. Now I see events with people with headphones, and I'm always wondering, does it not feel funny? You know, everybody's moving and dancing, and then you're wondering, if you're just walking on them, you're wondering, what's going on there? Are these people okay? So how has the reception been like in terms of fostering? Because some would say the essence of loud music, for some people enjoy talking over loud music. I can't do it, but at least it fosters that sort of, okay, let us talk. But once you're plugged in, you're just in your world. So the reception, and does it make people antisocial in that sense?
Yeah, well, antisocial, I would say no, because it has different layers in terms of the health benefits, your ability to actually have conversations while parties are going on. So different people are actually tapping into this, from corporate world to social events and all kinds of all walks of life, due to the multifaceted aspect of this thing.
I think let's take it to DJ Delight. I'm sure you can hear us, right?
Yes, I can hear you.
We see you literally partying. We have a silent party in the studio, but you're busting London literally with your sound. Tell us, one of the things I have noticed is the fact that women are really getting into this space. I can literally, I've lost count of how many female DJs we have these days, and it looks like there's a lot of buy-in in that community as far as women are concerned. So talk to us about why women are increasingly getting interested in being DJs these days.
I can only say that I think that we're more gender conscious. So where before in the past the industry was very much male-dominated, women were scared to go into that sector. But I think now, and the way that social media has opened up, it's easier for females to get into the industry as well.
How would you describe it? Easy, hard, or something in between, being a female DJ?
I would say more challenging than easy. I wouldn't say I'm in between. Now I'm in between. I've been doing it for several years. I started in 2008, and I really went into it during COVID. And at that point, it was difficult because you really couldn't get out to play, and you couldn't get the feel of what kind of music people wanted to hear on the dance floor. So it was hard then, quite turbulent. Moving forward, it's still kind of hard because it's, like I said, it's male dominated. So it's a bit challenging, and even I've had situations where there's several DJs on rotation. I'm probably the only female DJ there. There's bullying. I get bullied off or before my set or after my set, and so there's a lot of that sort of closed windows. It makes it quite difficult. So for me, I find it challenging. But now more so, I find it's very easy for me because I've made a lot of friends in the industry, and I kind of know how to move around when I'm out playing.
And it was fun to watch you, DJ Dio. I was wondering if you have any downtime because you seem to be having so much fun doing what you're doing. I'll come to you later on, but let's get to the studio now. Mr. Ifujo, talk to us about the ecosystem since the return of the nightlife economy in Lagos and hopefully in other parts of the country. What's the value chain that you find to be the potential, that is burgeoning, and can you put a value to it?
Yeah, well, talking about value is not something you can actually accrue a certain figure to, but I can categorically tell you that right from the post-COVID era, like up till now, we've actually had like an astronomical growth in terms of, for example, prior to the COVID era, nightlife was literally generating $1.2 million, but last year we had a growth of $7.5 million in terms of revenue generated from partying alone in Lagos State. That tells you a lot about what the ecosystem says. But it's still disheartening that there aren't structures to this thing in terms of what a regular DJ hands on the streets, and that is where Silent Party comes in. How do we've literally catered for all spheres of life, from the high class, middle class, and low class. If you go to the trenches, what people call trenches, for example, you have loads of people keying into this project, getting off the streets and having a life of this.
So what structure would you like to see in 30 seconds so we can party again with Dio?
Okay, so in terms of structure, I think people should start keying into having, I know is not feasible, having unions, but I think people should start getting educated in terms of what their craft entails, because the entertainment sector is largely informal and you can't really tell how people go about their craft. I feel government can actually wade into this, put up master classes and educate people on how they can actually move their craft forward.
Interesting. I hope that is taken across board, but it's invaluable what you're doing. Let's come to DJ Dio now. You could have been in a Nigerian typical club where Nigerian music was being played, but you're all the way in London. So tell us about the growing acceptance of Nigerian type of music in London, and the opportunities, the communities, for convergence, for entertainment, and also for just to enjoy the Nigerian type of music.
I think in the UK there wasn't much spaces for Nigerian type of music apart from the Nigerian restaurants that you would go to. But now you can go to an Asian restaurant and you'll be hearing Afrobeat. You can go to retailers and you'll be hearing Afrobeat. I think it's growing, it's thriving, and there's more producers, female DJs that are, waving the flag. We have associations and societies. I'm part of Nigerians UK, and I'm also part of African DJs UK societies, and we share. It's a really, really joint community if you know the right people. I think with everything, it's who you know and where you can go with the information that you have. So we're loving Afrobeat over here. I've even recently created, because I also do presentation, I'm a radio host, I recently created a space for Afrobeat artists from the UK, as well as, Africa, but mainly focused on Afrobeat artists in the UK to give them a platform so their music can reach a wider audience. So I think it's a bubbling pot, but it's beautiful, colourful and exciting.
There you go. As we wind down, should artists pay DJs a little bit more from proceeds, at least for spreading the gospel of their music? DJ Delight.
Yes, that's correct. I find that I find a lot of artists wanting to work with me, and it's difficult to bring on every type of artist and their music, because some I just don't think it's radio worthy, or I don't think it's dance floor worthy. I'm not discouraging by any means. I would find other ways of promoting their music. I'll put it in mixes. I would share it with colleagues. But yeah, there are some financial benefits to DJing versus being the artist as well. But I think we work very well with artists, and I work a lot with producers as well and labels. So I think, you're right. I do make quite a bit working with artists. So I'm also an artist DJ as well. And thank you so much for saying my name correctly. It's Dio DJ Delight, and I'm really happy to be here this morning.
Thank you so much. We have to wind down now, but clearly the party is just getting started for both of you. I know it's a Friday, so we wish you the very best. Break a leg, as they say. And thank you once again for the great work you're doing. Right here in our studio, we've had Ifunjowo Kudus, CEO of Silent Party Africa, back to the roots where you made your big break. Hopefully you can do another big party here.
Yes, he has to pay us some royalties.
And of course we've had Dio DJ Delight, disc jockey, join us from London. Thank you so much, and have a swell Friday, guys.
Thank you very much.
So there you go. What a show it has been. But clearly you can tell that there will be after party today on the show. I'm Kayode Okiyulu. Thank you for being a great part of the show.
More so, what a week it's been. Join us again, same time next week, all through for another bumper round of editions. I am Bukola Koka.
All right, find yourself around those silent parties. We have an ambassador here. Enjoy the weekend. Bye-bye. I'm Jeffrey.